to bring on Patrick de Haan from GasBuddy. He'll join us pretty frequently on this show. I think our audience is starting to get to know you a little bit here, Patrick. How's everything going on this Monday?
Well, a little bit less optimistic than we left last week. I mean, as you described, talk about a major 180, but highlights, how fragile these situations can be. Had a lot of, very similar things being said between the U.S. and Iran. Things were looking good. Gas prices were declining. We're starting the new week. Gas prices did drop over the weekend, but now may be the time to fill up. As you mentioned, oil prices up about 5%. That could lead to a round of gas price increases here this week. So hard to know exactly where, we're going to end up, how many twists and turns are going to be in this road, but certainly feeling like a roller coaster ride that just continues to go on here as we now enter the 8th week of the U.S. and Iran situation.
And as you said, we left Friday in such a relatively secure and optimistic place, and then chaos over the weekend once again. I wonder, obviously, the tangible sort of decisions that we see in the war, whether it be the seizing of a ship or the closing of the strait, those things are obviously going to impact prices. To what degree does the chaos in and of itself affect the industry and sort of consumer enthusiasm, I guess?
Well, I mean, it has an impact in where oil markets go, and that's the impact that consumers have, right? It just makes it very difficult to keep doing this up and down. And so it doesn't really impact the industry. They're going to produce oil. Oil's moving behind the scenes, but it's really interesting from the standpoint of watching markets try to absorb all the information. Because last week there was a rare moment, right, where the U.S. and Iran were both saying the same thing, and oil prices plummeted. Oil prices now, after the weekend and things fell apart, it seems like there's more distance between the sides. But even amongst a situation that is unreliable, there is some measure of reliability. That is, the president has made these escalations. He's had the same tone on major attacks, but we haven't seen that pan out. So I think the market is starting to gather more information on exactly what is possible and what is not. Oil prices jumped 7% last night. They've pared that back down to about a plus 4% increase. So the markets are starting to feel like, I feel like, a bit nauseous on everything that's happening. And even now with the escalations that have happened over the weekend, even with it looking like the sides are pretty far apart, oil is only up 4%. So just a lot of probably saber rattling here between the U.S. and Iran. And the market is probably now settling into a phase where it may be skeptical of either party saying something, but we're going to continue to watch what happens in the Strait. Meanwhile, I think the cascading impacts are starting to become more visible. Challenges are going to become more acute, especially with jet fuel in areas of Asia and Europe. We saw a major earthquake in Japan, and from that perspective, really highlighting every refinery globally now is being relied on in a way that we've never seen before. And with refineries in the Middle East blocked by the Strait of Hormuz, keep in mind, even something like an earthquake in Japan that could knock refineries offline is now something we're watching. This is going to make hurricane season all the more critical. If we see major hurricanes blocking or shutting down refineries, and the situation with the U.S. and Iran ongoing, it could be very problematic.
I had never thought about that aspect of it, in that not only is it a problem itself, but the margin for error is now completely shrunk. And so if there is some sort of natural disaster or unforeseen event, then we kind of don't have any safeguards, it sounds like. Maybe is that a reasonable way to frame that?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, there is no breathing room. There is no margin for error this summer. I mean, with as long as the situation's ongoing, keep in mind that there's millions of barrels of oil refining capacity in the Middle East that are blocked, not just the flow of oil. The flow of oil is what we're hearing about. It's what is impacting prices, but it's really also refineries. Some of the largest refineries in the Middle East are being blocked. Those refineries supply gasoline, diesel, and most importantly, jet fuel to the global market. So, I mean, really, with the loss of that 5 million barrels a day of capacity, it puts a lot of pressure on other global refineries. And as I mentioned, that earthquake in Japan was not on, a list of my bingo card for what to watch or what could make or break global refining capacity. But it's going to really highlight how sensitive anything is to, a major hurricane this year. If we see the Gulf impacted by a Category 3 or stronger hurricane that takes aim for some of these very sensitive refining hubs, it still could be a very challenging summer. And keep in mind, there's a huge range of potential this summer. gas prices could fall close to $3 if everything goes swimmingly from this moment on. We could also see five or even beyond that for gasoline prices. I mean, it's not impossible that under a worst case scenario, you still could see gas prices getting closer to $6. So just a huge amount of uncertainty with what we're going to see this summer.
I think a chill for most people's wallets there, as you said, even beyond that, towards the end of that sentiment. Now, this is very anecdotal, but I was listening to NPR on my way in this morning, and they told a story about an individual truck driver that they spoke to. He said he has completely stopped driving his truck, and he's just driving his spouse's car or whatever smaller sort of vehicle he can get his hands on because diesel fuel is just too expensive. Is that something you anticipate? Is maybe we see less trucks on the road as people try to manage this situation?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, that's the easiest case to say I'm going to take my spouse's car because mine's diesel and this one's gasoline, and gasoline's a heck of a lot cheaper right now. So, I mean, we're seeing that across the board. That families that have larger, pickup trucks, unless you actually need the towing capacity, just jump in the gasoline-powered vehicle because right now gasoline is seeing the least impact compared to diesel and compared to jet fuel. So, absolutely. I mean, you're going to see more of that here if diesel prices remain elevated. By the way, diesel prices this morning nationally still only 25 cents a gallon away from a new all-time record high. Diesel at $5.50 a gallon, a lot cheaper to fill that gasoline car up right now with the national average back below the $4 mark. So yeah, I'd expect to see a lot more of that for those families that have that flexibility.
And then in terms of expectations, and again, I'm asking you to sort of project the future in industries that are even maybe outside of what we're directly talking about. But is this something where the EV industry could potentially see some bumps from this? If this is an extended situation through the summer, will more people say, look, I want to avoid this in the future. I'm just going to go towards an electric vehicle now?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That is something that a lot of households probably would think about. I don't know if it's feasible. I mean, not everyone can go out, especially with interest rates as elevated as they are. But absolutely, fuel economy is quickly starting to become more of a priority. How people drive and how they look at their next car purchase is going to be influenced based on what happens. Now, a lot of Americans aren't going to pull the trigger on a, EV being tens of thousands of dollars unless this really starts to stick around for longer periods of time. I'm sure there's people out there that have said, hey, this is the straw that broke the camel's back. We're going to get an EV, and they were already looking at vehicles. But there's a lot of subset of Americans that can't afford a multiple, $10,000 vehicle right now. So the longer this continues, the more Americans will probably think about that. There are probably a few Americans that have already made the jump, but a lot of Americans just kind of holding their breath to see what's going to be next.
And this the sort of the path of our conversation has me thinking of all these unintended consequences in different areas. So again, I'll sort of ask, this is way out there, but if we were to get to August, September, October, let's hope not, but and we were seeing elevated prices and even sort of $5 and $6 prices all over the place, do you think that we could potentially see companies who start saying, hey, we're going to go back to working from home for a little bit because we know how hard this is? We spent the whole pandemic working from home. As we worked our way back from that, a lot of companies said, look, we know you can work from home, but we want you here. Could we see a reversion to saying, we're going to try to save you a little bit here, Monday through Wednesday, work from home, that type of thing?
I'm sure that's already happening, maybe on an individual basis, but look overseas. I mean, places, Africa, Europe, Asia are already doing that. In fact, some areas of Europe, they're mandating people start working from home to try and reduce consumption. I mean, I'm sure that's going to start here in the US. Just as more offices are having more days in office, you could very easily see that yes, people are going to maybe start where available working from home, especially on a case by case basis. If somebody's driving an hour to and from work every day, I would look for flexibility from employers in this type of situation on a temporary basis. I don't know how permanent. It might be hard for companies to want to allow too much right now, given the dynamic may be temporary. But I think there's some places that you could see where that may be feasible or start to happen. Primarily not the U.S. so much, as we will likely see that more overseas.
Okay, keeping our eyes peeled for that. And my last question for you, we've talked about how maybe go and fill up that tank today based on what we're seeing. We talked about last time you were here about how people can drive in a way that maybe saves them just a little bit of gas when it comes to maybe the speed you're driving, how quickly you get up to top speed, putting it into neutral as you come to a stop, that sort of thing. I'm wondering, outside of those two realms, anything else you can pinpoint that people can be doing right now to try and protect the wallet during these price hikes?
Well, when there's a moment of buying opportunity like there is right now, oil prices are going up. It may be a good idea to top off today. But as you mentioned, driving habits are huge. I can't underestimate that. If you're not a member of a loyalty program at a gas station, there's plenty of them that will roll your prices back. Even payments, whether it's a credit card or cash discount or even pay with GasBuddy card might be something that people can check out to help them save at the pump. But, there's really no magic wand to make the pain go away, but you can drive smarter, shop smarter, and pay smarter. All of those can offer you savings.
Okay, very good. Patrick de Haan, we appreciate you as always. I'm sure we'll see you again before long. Hopefully we get one of these interviews in the near future where there's more good news to talk about than bad news. But for the time being, have a great week. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, Patrick de Haan from GasBuddy. He's become a regular guest on this show, always has great insight and great answers for us as we continue to observe this market that is in crisis. Now, Olivia, you had something that you wanted to add here.
Yeah, so my dad texted me last week. I'm originally from like the Philly area, and my dad texted me the other day telling me about how much it took for him to fill up his truck. So my dad, he filled up just about 28 gallons. Take a guess on how much you think it cost.
Oh, gosh.
Just take a wild guess.
28 gallons? What are we, maybe $100? 110? Higher.
A little bit higher.
115? 120?
All right. I'm going to see. Can I take my camera? You can see that.
Is that 129?
That's 113.
112. 113. Okay. Woof. 113 to fill up the tank. And what's he driving?
It's GMC Sierra.
Okay, bigger vehicle.
But it's a big, my dad works construction, so
yeah.
It cost me about $70 to fill my little Honda Accord.
And
it makes me cry.
Right. And now he sends you the text with that picture. Give us a sense of his emotional state.
He said it was rude.
Yeah. We might have to get him as a guest here on Live Impact News if this keeps going. He sounds like a character. Okay, so we've got sort of our broad global statistics that we brought you before the interview. We have Patrick de Haan giving us more insight, and then an actual sort of personal anecdote here of how this is really affecting everyday Americans. So this continues to be a massive crisis that we are going to keep an eye on, and that, again, as Patrick stated, has been so up and down. Right? We've had this situation where as the Strait of Hormuz is rumored to be opening on Friday, gas prices drop, or oil prices drop. It takes a while to actually see the impact at the pump, but oil prices drop. 2 days later, there's an incident, and they go back up. It's just up and down based on how it looks that day in terms of finding peace in the war in Iran. Okay, we're going to take a brief commercial break here. When we get back, we actually have one live event that we want to check in on that we're observing right now, and we have a couple things from the weekend we still need to go over. That's coming up next.